we're going to add $5 billion in new subway funding to the approximately $9 billion already available. We will use this funding to close the Shepherd Loop, to build the relief line, and to make the Young Line extension to Richmond Hill a reality.
That's PC leader Doug Ford once again making the campaign promise to spend $5 billion in transit funding. Now, as he said, that's already on top of the $9 billion already promised by the feds and the Wynne government. Now, one of his promises including expanding the Scarborough subway to 3 stops. And as any Torontonian would know, that alone is a costly proposal. So we decided to put Doug to the ultimate fact check. And as you can imagine, crunching all the numbers is no easy feat. So to do so, City News consulted experts at Ryerson University, TTC Riders, and the Ministry of Transportation, and so far, Doug's $5 billion promise just doesn't add up. Today alone, Doug said he'd continue the loop for Scarborough. That's extending the Shepherd subway to Scarborough Town Centre. And today's dollars, that's at a cost of $3.7 billion. He wants to fund the downtown relief line. Total cost for that, $6.8 billion. Build the Yonge extension north to Richmond Hill. That's still in its design phase, but even conservative estimates put the cost of that at $10.8 billion. And finally, instead of a one-stop Scarborough subway extension, go back to the old plans of a 3-stop subway. That's $1 billion more than what's already funded. Total of today's promises alone, $22.3 billion.
Well, the numbers just don't add up. $5 billion is a welcome commitment, but it needs to be spent on sensible transit projects that are built where they're needed the most and that help the most transit riders. And we know that the Shepherd subway would cost almost $4 billion. A handful of really expensive subway stops will not deliver transit to the most riders in areas where it's needed the most. It's going to leave more people on the bus.
And here's where it gets confusing. On Monday, when Doug made his $5 billion promise at City News Studios for the debate, he didn't just earmark that money for Toronto's subways. Rather, he said it'll be used for expanding transit for the entire Greater Toronto area.
What we're going to do is make sure that we put $5 billion into Toronto, GTA, and the surrounding areas. We're going to spend $5 billion. One of the items is going to be two-way go all the way to Niagara.
And here's the cost for that. A 2015 Metrolinx report puts that project at a cost of $166 million. So Doug Ford's promises to date, they total around $22.4 billion, and that makes him some $8 billion short in terms of what funding has already been announced. And that also doesn't include some future TTC capital projects that remain unfunded, including the Eglinton East Line.